Better try something. All right, here it is.
I'll buy it. 7 o'clock on one of the clocks. Let's all do the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Roll.
Michael Behrman,
Here.
Matt O'Gara,
Here.
Jamie Melky,
Here.
Kathy Macho,
Here.
Nancy Rondell.
Here.
We do have a quorum.
Fantastic. All right, citizens comment, something that's not on our agenda tonight.
Real quick, make it quick. This is Kevin Schaefer. He's from East Syracuse, New York. Is that correct? He's our assessor for CALEA credit, Commission on Accreditation for Law Enforcement Agencies. He's here from East Syracuse to do an accreditation for us, our assessment. He'll be here today, tomorrow, and then leaving on Wednesday. Very pleasant gentleman and nice to meet him. We're always fearful of what's gonna. Yeah, it's great. He's very laid back and we've had a great first day, and so it's gonna be hearing from some of you. And then we have our exit interview and basically a reflection on Wednesday at 10:15 in here. So I'm inviting anybody who wants to come to see whether we failed in past or if I'm done with my job or whatever it might be. So, and I don't know where everybody else went that was here 2 weeks ago, but it's sort of nice to have the locals here. But this is Kevin Schaefer, so.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for coming, Kevin. Anyone else for public comment? Great. No hands raised. Even better. Consent agenda? Any issues? Motion?
There was a little wording
Oh.
mishap in the
Go in the minute.
minutes, which Nancy picked up on, and I corrected it for the record,
All
so.
right.
Okay.
Which was,
It just said pedestrian traffic instead of vehicular traffic.
okay, just want that for the record.
No,
Yeah, that we
display
were
of
closing the
goods.
road to pedestrian, and that's not what we were,
Oh,
it just got, yeah. So that's what it was. I read it like 4 times, I'm like, am I reading this wrong? I can't figure this out. So,
I'll make the motion to approve the consent.
I'll second. All right.
Jamie Melky,
Yes.
Nancy Rondell.
yes,
Matt O'Gara,
Yes.
Michael Behrman,
Yes.
and Kathy Macho.
Yes.
Motion carried.
And. No display of goods.
All right, take it away. Yeah, so last meeting, this should all be pretty familiar for you. Council agreed to consider an administrative ordinance to temporarily allow outdoor display of goods for the summer. Well, actually, Mayor McGarrett had requested through October 31st, and you guys were okay with that. So basically what Jim Raymer had provided is an administrative ordinance, and we do these, probably once or twice a year usually. And again, these are for things we want to see on a temporary basis, either as we work on, another ordinance to make some permanent changes. Or if we've, in the past, we don't like to call them moratoriums, but have, stopped something as we try to work on an ordinance. In this case, council removed the language from the new zoning code on outdoor display of goods so that the DDA and the planning commission can work on a permanent solution, but recognizing that it was a little late in the game for the businesses downtown to be able to react to that and prepare a response. You said to allow it on a temporary basis. So basically, Jim just provided the same language that we had in our current code on outdoor display of goods, just organized a little bit, A, B, C, D, E, so it's broken out, easier to read. It's gonna last through October 31st. Hopefully by then, well before then, the planning commission, DDA will have some recommendations to the council on that, so we can put a new ordinance in place in the code. It may look a little different than it is right now, but we'll see. I just want to make a note that our old zoning code had the old language of ordinance 387 alongside ordinance 426 in it. So if you look at a previous copy of the zoning code, you'll see two different types of language on outdoor displays of goods, and that's just because when we replaced it, we just didn't delete out the old code. So what you're seeing is the actual code that was adopted and overrode the ordinance 426, ordinance 387, which was from 2013. So basically, this ordinance, again, is to allow administrative display, outdoor display of goods as we have allowed it the last few years through October 31st. And it's all written there. It's pretty self-explanatory.
Public comment. Anyone on the table? Happy?
It was a good way to do it. Except, yeah.
Motion.
I'll make a motion that we adopt, I don't know the number,
Ordinance 2024-01.
oh, 2024-01.
I'll second.
01.
Yeah.
Motion and a
Yep.
second. Kathy Marshall,
Yes.
Michael Behrman. Yes. Matt McGarrett,
Yes.
Nancy Rondell.
Yes.
And Jamie Melky.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you. All right, item 3B, this is the Emmett County Recycling Services Agreement for curbside recycling. And Andy Tolzorf from Emmett County DPW, she is here. She can, I'll let her speak after I give or she can answer any questions you have about the agreement. But Andy came to us a couple months ago, just reminding us that we need to renew our contract. It expires on September 30th. And typically our contracts with Emmett County Recycling, since we started, a few decades ago, have been for 5-year cycles. I requested this go around a 3-year cycle, and that's because our millage expires, our public safety millage expires in 2027. And last time when we were looking at whether or not to cut services or raise revenue, Emmett recycling curbside service came up as a consideration. And since we were in the middle of a contract, that was something we couldn't touch, but it's something that council members and some in the public have brought up as a potential thing. So it's not something that we want to cut those, but I think it wouldn't be wise for us to enter into a 5-year agreement if we don't know how a millage will play out in a few years. So, and Andy was, accepted that. She said that was fine. We have there for 3 years, about through the end of 2027. And then there's, of course, basically a standard price increase for the cost of doing business. We started out, right now we're at $335 per unit per month, and I believe there's about 860 curbside totes or units. And this year, starting October 1st, that cost would go up to about $3.60 per unit per month. And we do it for all addresses in the city of Harbor Springs, whether or not you're here full-time or not seasonal. So, well, I think it's all residential addresses, right?
Right.
Yeah, residential addresses. So the total cost to the city would increase from the current at $2,900 per month to $3,100 per month, which of course is just about $37,000 annually. Of course, and we also have separate agreements with the Emmett County DPW to pick up some of our municipal recycling as well. We have some of the larger bins that they come and pick up. And yeah, that is basically it. Andy, if you want to add something, I do have a nice little brochure that you threw in here that. you
Yeah,
can see.
so I'm not sure if city council saw the one pager, this one pager, but just some of the facts that were in here. So the city has been working with Emmett County DPW to provide this service to residents since 2004. And this is for weekly collection, like Victor said, for every household in the city of Harbor Springs. The residents can put the bins out, and if it's out, we pick it up. If it's not, we don't pick it up. He said there's 861 homes in Harbor Springs that we service. So last year, our drivers stopped at over 14,000 stops in the city throughout the year. And so we have one driver that services the city of Harbor Springs. Her name is Lori, and she does all of Harbor Springs. It's her busiest route day in the summer. In the winter, it backs up a little bit, but city of Harbor Springs definitely is our busiest in the summer. Last year, we picked up 661,000 pounds of recycling just from the city limits here. And so for those of you who may or may not be familiar with our program, we do have a processing facility here in Harbor Springs on Pleasant View Road in Little Traverse Township, where we actually process all of the material. So I know right now in the news, there's a lot about, is recycling real? Is it really getting recycled? Is it just being landfilled? But here in Emmett County, we do process all the material. 95% of the material that we process supplies factories in Michigan. So we're not sending it to China. We're not sending it out of the Midwest even. 95% of the materials stay here in Michigan, supporting the Michigan economy. Emmett County DPW has 27 full-time staff that work here year-round in our county. They collect, sort, and process the recyclable materials. And due to our dual stream process, so that's a question we get frequently, is why can't it all just go in one bin? A lot of other places, people who have second homes here, their other homes, it all can just go in one bin. We are dual stream, so we ask that the paper boxes and bags are separated from the mixed containers. And that is for efficiency in our process. So our dual stream materials stay much cleaner, so we can actually sell them to factories to be made into new material. And so one example I like to use is the per ton rate of material on average. Ours, we get about $100 per ton of material. In a single stream, it's closer to $50 per ton. So we really actually can use that as a revenue for our program, because we do ask the residents of businesses to do a little bit of sorting. So it really does pay off in the end. And I'm happy to answer any questions that anyone else has. Yeah.
I just, the 859, is that basically, that's how many actual houses, or? So I have-
861.
Since I have two,
So it's based on addresses.
based on address.
Yes, yeah, home addresses with homes on it. So like vacant lots aren't counted, but actual homes.
Okay, so because I put out both of mine at the same time, that still just counts as one.
Yeah, for
Okay.
billing purposes.
How does it work for like an apartment building, like a complex or something like that?
Yeah, so that I believe is still just billed as one address, unless it has like a half, like 815 and a half might. I think that might be billed as two. So we actually get the numbers from the county planning and zoning. So they're the ones that supply us with the number of houses.
So what about like Hillside?
So that would be commercial. So we also offer commercial services. So anything over 4 is considered commercial, and the city does not cover that. They can pay for that themselves.
So if there's more than 4 residents?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah. Yeah, so we still offer the service, but it's not paid for by the city, it's paid for.
The bins, let's say at the IGA or Harbor Springs Market,
Yep,
that bin there, that's supplied by the city, but on a different account, or is it?
so that's actually supplied by us. We cover the costs of that. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so the Harbor Springs Market is kind enough to host that site, but we do not charge anybody for hosting that.
How many of, that's the only one I know of that's within city limits that I know of.
Yes.
Are there any others?
No, so we have 12 throughout Emmett County, and they're spread out, so that's another thing, is we really do want to provide access throughout the county. The populations in Harbor Springs and Petoskey, that's where we offer curbside, but we have quite a bit of those sites north of town as well, for people who don't have curbside access.
And I do have a very personal question. If I can't get all the peanut butter out of the glass jar, like no matter how hard I try, should
That's
I
okay.
still put it in there?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, so
I've kind of-
we
All right.
actually
That's been bugging
empty,
me,
not
because I'm
clean.
thinking like I'm contaminating the whole thing for the county or
Yeah.
whatever. Okay, all right, thank you,
The
sorry.
peanut butter's a very commonly asked
Sorry,
question.
Mayor, we're not on a personal question.
Andy,
We all want to do
do you have any idea how many houses you actually pick up? On like how many sheets?
So we have done studies from time to time. Typically, it's about 80% throughout the year. So like, we'll ride along with the drivers and have,
I'm just curious
yeah,
how many
and-
people use this.
and so the drivers know their routes, they know their customers. And so they'll say, this house recycles 3 times a year. This house actually has never had anything out. So it's kind of hard to measure, participation, because I mean, it's 3 times a year, they're using it, but
Yeah.
just not weekly, so.
But it's fairly well used, you
Yes,
would say.
yes.
So you said 14,000 pickups about were done in last year or whatever, so. You divide that by, 52 weeks or whatever, and that gets your average
Yeah,
number of stops.
yeah, so in the summer, she does over 400 stops a day. In the winter, it's closer to probably 200.
And the ones, and the separate recycling that we have with the city, those are for like bins or at the DPW, right?
Yeah, so like the ones that you guys,
Yeah.
yeah, so that would be considered like a commercial account. So I know like the police station, we pick some up from over there, and they're just on our commercial account, so they're commercial bins and they're on the commercial route sheets.
A few of those.
Thank you.
And, oh, sorry, I was just gonna real quick, Nancy pointed out that there was and we fixed it with Andy, just some terms in the old contract about 5-year renewal, but, we're holding off on that. So it's a 3-year contract. Yeah. Sorry.
Linda Rockwitz, 519 East Third Street. You do a fabulous job. It's such a service. When we had to take it up to the harbor market, those bins were always overflowing, and you just getting, so please continue. It's great.
What else? You're happy with the contract,
I'm happy.
other than the price?
Other than the price. Well, it is a significant increase this first year, more than it's been going up before.
Yeah, usually it's gone up 3% per year, about 2 to 3% per year, but every time we do a renewal, I believe, and Andy, correct me if I'm wrong, you at the DPW kind of calculate, your costs and figure out how much they need to increase in order to be able to sustain what they're doing. So that's why you see a jump when there's new contracts coming in. So from 2018 to 2019, it was a 9% increase. From 2024 going into next year, it's a 7% increase. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
So yeah. But otherwise, in the contract, I believe it's a 3% or a constant 15% each year increase. So.
Any other discussion?
No,
No? I'll make a motion, we renew the contract with the Emmett County Recycling Services. Second that?
Matt Dira,
Yes.
Michael Behrman,
Yes.
Nancy Rundell,
Yes.
Jamie Melky.
Yes.
and Kathy Macho.
yes,
Motion carried.
Thank you.
Thanks, Andy.
Thank you, Andy.
Thank you.
And before we go on, even though this is not related to recycling, I have been getting calls from residents about the switch over from Little Traverse Disposal to GFL. Of course, it's not anything to do with the city. We remind residents, but I did reach out to GFL. They did say that they had lot of addresses that were lost in the switch over from Little Traverse Disposal to GFL. So they're working through some of those issues, and they have a little change in process too. So so they want to if the people feel comfortable, residents contacting us, we can give them the phone number to call, but we don't deal directly with GFL. That's the customer chooses how they do their own waste. Right? So, but I'll be happy to connect them with their contact information.
To complicate matters even more, Waste Management has, that was our other provider that, provided for the city residents, and they are ending their services to their customers in the city beginning on the week of June 24th. So
We'll get more calls.
yes. So
And Victor, feel free to direct residents to us as well for that kind of stuff. I know it's not exactly what we do, but we're in the loop and
Okay, yeah.
we can answer.
Appreciate that. Yeah,
As
that's
well.
awesome. Thanks, Andy. Item 3C is the transformer bid selection. So let me just get this quick. Yeah, no, that's the
Sorry, you
contract.
weren't
that
supposed
came-
to hear that.
No, it's great. That was the whole contract.
okay.
And the transformer bid selection, we received 2 bids for the substation project for the transformer. They did come in higher than our 2023 cost estimate, which was approximately $1.1 million, just a little over was our cost estimate. And the transformer, across all the different options, different locations where the transformer cost was projected to be the same. So it doesn't matter if what location the transformer is going to cost the same, it doesn't matter where it's located. So it's the same type of transformer we're looking for. We had 2 bids that we received, one from Virginia Transformer and one from Niagara Transformer. As far as cost, there was about, Niagara came in about, I would say about $44,000 below Virginia, which was about 3.5% lower. The big difference though, however, was Niagara's lead time versus Virginia's lead time. It would be for Niagara at least 3.5 years, up to 5 years before they could deliver the transformer. With Virginia, 70 to 75 weeks, talking about 1.5 years. So that's a big difference. You know, when we're talking about a project we want to have completed by 2026, in 2026 at the latest, that's we would be talking about waiting until 2029 or so to do this project if we go with Niagara. However, Michael also did a 10-year cost comparison between Niagara and Virginia when it comes to load losses. So each transformer, every time you're transferring, transmitting electricity from its source to the substation and then to the distribution lines, you're going to have some load loss. So you're going to lose some electricity, right? And the comparison of the way Virginia builds it versus Niagara, Virginia is more efficient, less load loss, and it brings the 10-year cost comparison to about $8,000 difference between Niagara and Virginia. So essentially a half a percent. It's 0.5% more to go with Virginia. So essentially, when you look at that more longer term cost analysis, it's pretty much the same cost. What we have the big difference is in our lead time. When we look at our purchase, so Michael McGeehan from our GRP, which is now Verdantis Engineering, they merged into Verdantis GRP. He's still our engineer though, our electric engineer, Michael McGeehan. He recommends going with Virginia, especially because of that lead time. When we look to our purchase and procurement policy, it says we should choose the lowest bid unless certain details and conditions of the project, such as timing or construction methods, are incompatible or will significantly impact the city's needs and goals. And in my opinion here, the cost difference being relatively minimal, even though it's still $200,000 over what our initial estimate was, the lead time is such a big difference that I do recommend council should go with Virginia. As a side note, which is not atypical, Virginia Transformer did have several markups on the proposed contract. So we usually have an agreement contract with contractors or people who are providing some good or service to just have a contract, for liability purposes and delivery, all these important things when it comes to delivering the product. They did have some minor, I think mostly were minor and procedural edits, such as, how to deliver payment, the installments, liability or cancellation terms and things like that. None of those affected the actual price and the cost of doing things, but it is something that Michael, our engineer, if we do select Virginia, would have to, have negotiations back and forth to work on those details. There's not usually something that, council is involved in on, but if there is something that we think is gonna drastically impact the timeline, the cost, or the product is delivered, we come back to council with those terms. I supplied a sample contract to you via email. It was just like 80,000, 100,000 kilobyte. It was a huge file, so I couldn't post it on our website, but it's a 140-page contract that it's basically just these details working out. So my recommendation is that we do go with Virginia. But before we, touch on that, I just also want to do a quick note on the substation, just update on the substation project. Given that it's $200,000 more than we anticipated, of course, is likely to drive up the entire cost of the project, which was originally for the location we have selected. We approximated it to be at $6.4 million. So with this, of course, it brings that up to about $6.6 million for the project. Of course, we don't know what the actual cost to construct the substation will be until we get those bids back to you. They could be lower, they could be higher, but it's still kind of hard to gauge in this market. Another advantage to going with, well, potentially an advantage, you don't know where the market go, but if we went with Transform with Niagara, you're talking about waiting 3 to 4 years at least before you bid out the substation project, and who knows how costs will change in 3 to 4 years for construction. So it could drive it up more, it could be lower, but the trends we've seen in the past 5 years is everything's been going up. It could stabilize, but the electric, it's specific to the electrics, the substation transformer market. I mean, these transformers are on back order. I mean, there's a lot of need, not a lot of companies that are providing this. So I don't expect the prices would drop significantly. I think they would go up. More specifically, we did get the final, it was longer than expected, but we did get final GRP, or Vedantis was consulting with a surveyor to kind of exactly fit the substation. This surveying company, Grosling and Chubik, they specialize in siting. One of the things they do is site substations, and they do electric transmission lines. So we were working with them to get the proposed substation location just exactly precisely located on the Everard's property, so we can know exactly how much land we would need from the Everard's in order to put the substation there. So they were working on that. They were also working on the easement path that would go through Mary Lou Dawson's property, exactly trying to figure out how much, where that road or that drive would be located and how much easement we would actually need there. So they were working on that. We finally got that. I did reach out to the Everard's last week, so I'm still waiting to hear back from them on that, just so we can know their attorney to, craft up some sort of agreement when it comes to the real estate. And of course, we're discussed at the previous council meeting last year that we're hoping this is, a donated parcel. That's what our costs reflect, is a donation. So we're waiting to hear back from them on that. And yeah, then after that, we'll also talk to Mary Lou Dawson's representative on the easement. We have some questions about that, but we can get all that figured out. They were very supportive of giving an easement beforehand. I don't suspect this will change that much, but we do have some, we still have to discuss with them. There's been slight changes in the proposed easement, so we need to discuss that with them. So that's where we are at with the substation. Hopefully we'll hear back soon from the Everards, and we can have more conversation back at council this summer about it.
Any public comment?
Are you bored now?
Want to go? Well, what do you think? You guys read that contract?
No.
Experts on transformers now?
I mean, the price difference is, to me, in terms of percentage, is just not enough to be concerned about when you consider the lead time different. That just leads to so many questions and so many potential issues, I think. That I don't see how we can wait that long. I think we have to go with the shorter term. I agree.
I think the mere fact too that only two companies even submitted bids, it's a rough landscape out there to get these transformers, I'm sure, and so I agree. I think we if 1.5 years, it still puts us on the timeline that was originally established. And I think that's important. Not to veer too far off of that timeline. So that's scary, up to 5 years. I agree.
I'm good with Virginia.
Motion?
I'll make a motion that we accept the bid from Virginia for the transfer.
I'll second.
And we will, of course, award, the bid will be awarded, pending contingent on a successful contract negotiation. Yeah.
Okay.
I have a motion and a second, and I'll do a roll call since it is a substantial amount of money. Jamie Melky,
Yes.
Michael Behrman,
Yes.
Nancy Rondell.
Yes.
Kathy Macho,
Yes,
and Matt Bogiera.
Yes.
Motion carried.
And for those that it is in the packet, we do have this site plan available and it's a packet. So this is on the website. It just shows the locations, the transformer and the easement that will be coming off of Hoyt Road. Right. If there's none other there, I'll just quickly go through the city manager report, and I feel like for beginning of the month, it's easier to refer to the newsletter for the updates, because there's a lot of updates in the newsletter. We hopefully Judd project will be completed the next week and paved. The contract deadline was June 15th. So they had hoped to get it done by June 1st, but the contract deadline was June 15th. So it will be done soon regardless. It will be done by the June 15th date, so they said. We are gonna be getting pavement markings, so striping, so we've got that striping equipment that's in, so all the worn out, faded out lines will be, it won't happen within a week, but we're gonna start within the week. We also have to do some lead and copper sampling at the DPW. Skate park is gonna be seeded for grass. And we are still on course to replace Spring Street, a section of Spring Street sidewalk that we bid out last year or earlier, that will be done by June 21st.
oh, okay.
Have we found any lead or copper service lines? Do you know?
Not that I know. I don't know about copper. I haven't heard anything on lead, about lead, so. And Nick knows our auditors are here in June supposedly, right? Yeah, still.
I'm still hammering out a date with them, but yes.
Okay, yeah. And Chief just provides his monthly report about things going on. And of course, they've, per usual, have a lot of assistance in the community with a lot of events. And he's here, of course, to answer any questions about that. The Planning Commission is going to be tackling, continue tackling signage as part of their discussions. Because remember, the signage ordinance was removed from the zoning code, and it's probably going to be a city code ordinance, so they're going to be working on that. I don't expect to get a whole lot of changes, but they have gone to DDA to get DDA's input on signage downtown. There's some things that they may want to change there, and I'll go back to the Planning Commission. We'll eventually make a recommendation to council. We have 2 ribbon cuttings for parks. One is the ribbon cutting for the new playground at Zorn Beach, and also that is going to be held on June 22nd, which is a Saturday, and then we have one on June 26th for the skate park, which is a Wednesday ribbon cutting. So show up; it should be fun. Both of those. The DDA, as you know, we've had a TIF money, so they're looking forward to next year working more with the county TIF money. They're also continuing to work out the 3rd Street lighting project, and they will be discussing. They received a bid for the Merchants Walkway, so they'll be discussing that at their next meeting. And the council may see that coming up sometime, probably in late June or July, depending on what the DDA does there. So, and the DDA, well, it wasn't a DDA thing, but the Michigan Downtown Association did host their summer workshop here in Harbor Springs, which Becky attended, so did a couple of our DDA board members, which I believe they found very valuable from what I heard. So yeah, it was a great opportunity. And we do have just a Parks and Recreation survey too to take on use of our parks. It's online. There'll also be people can go to the parks, and the lifeguards and people at the skate park will be able to take it if you visit those parks. Where we have some staff there that can help people guide them to the survey. Yeah, so that is really what we have going on. As far as meetings, I mentioned the Parks Board about the ribbon cutting and about the DDA. That's all that happened. There was a Chamber of Commerce volunteer appreciation at the New York restaurant, and then the CC 911 board, which is our emergency dispatch. They have interviewed 2 candidates for the executive director position and made a decision on who to offer the job to. I haven't heard back yet if that person was accepted, but we'll likely see a new executive director there. And just as a reminder, CC 911, the structure of that is a 9-person board with 3 representatives from each county. Charlevoix has 3, Sheboygan has 3, and the county has 3, and the county has 1 township representative, 1 city representative, and 1 county board representative. So for the city representatives, it usually alternates between myself or the city manager of Petoskey. Any questions?
I just have one thing that, it's kind of a housekeeping thing. The Harbor Commission, they have 10 people on the board for Harbor Commission, 9 plus. And in the bylaws, the quorum is 5, which is kind of out of sync with the other board.
Usually a quorum is a majority.
Yeah, so I think we should, not a huge deal, but I think we should look at it at some point and either drop the membership or do something with it so that it's truly a majority and not just half the board. At the last meeting,
We had 5
there
show
were
up.
5 show up. That's what brought it to my attention. I hadn't really noticed it, but I think we should clean that out.
So yeah, I guess, as you're saying, the 2 options are either
Yeah.
to reduce the membership from 10 to 9 or change the quorum
Or
to
change the
6.
And it's usually not great to have equal numbers on committees, because I know it was tough. So I just think it's something we should look at. It never occurred to me until there were only 5 people there and it was a quorum.
So our Harbor Commission meets next Wednesday. I can bring it.
Yeah, they should,
Attention to you.
yeah, just bring it to your attention.
And I'd like to thank Victor, DPW, the Parks Recreation Department, all of the old skate park structures are gone. And that had been something I asked Victor about on an ongoing basis. When are we gonna see those things gone? And I know some of them, I think, were bid out and other entities, you know, took it or whatever, but I really appreciate that, Victor. Thank you for overseeing that. It looks just, now it really looks just incredible and you know, so we just have so many points of pride now, you know, with the skate park. You know, Zorn now just looks incredible. Our and Chief, I just want to add the donuts, you know, taking the PBIS students of the week or month or whatever out for donuts. It's just, every time I see that posted, it just brings such joy. So thank you for doing that.
It's fun for me. It's an opportunity for me to meet them and their parents and also have a donut. So one thing I'm gonna bring down to a meeting, but I don't know if you heard about the girl Blue or what happened on Third Street when they were rehearsing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so Hannah's dad, I don't know how to pronounce Hannah's last name. Bianchi. Her dad had a massive heart attack while they were preparing to march in Memorial Day Parade. And Marty McGregor and one of the other members who's a member of that band, instantly, he was coded right there, started doing CPR. I'll bring him in because they're gonna get a life-saving work. But and started doing CPR. Josh was working. Josh got there in a heartbeat and had the AED, which I'm glad we have. And now we've used them a couple times to bring people back. And then Tyler Swiss and Tyler Hoff were both off duty. Both heard of the call and came down and they ended up bringing them back. So like I said, Marty and the other gentleman, I'll bring them to council, but it was a big kudos for a lot of people or he would not have made it. So.
Mike Gary is the other boy's name.
Yep, thank you.
Mike Gary.
Thank you.
Fantastic.
Well, if there's nothing else, I'd like to adjourn this meeting. Thank you all for coming.